Hi, Lily. Cass again, thank you so much for the raid. I hope you get some good rest. Hey, Mumsy. Hey, Oas. How you guys doing? Welcome in. Hope you guys are doing well. Let me just do this one. There we go. All right. Hi, everybody. Hello, hello. Man, I feel like Hoyo has no idea what they want to do with Stella Conduct, it seems. God, like looking at the beta changes every time right now, Jesus Christ. They're so all over the place. It's interesting. So sorry, had that. No worries, Lily. Hello, welcome in. I hope you had a fun walk. Yeah, the so V4, like version 4 of the beta, I think slightly nerfed Yai, and they buffed Sino and Risley, and they changed some of the multiplier numbers for Stella Conduct overall with its stacks. And version 5 now again completely changed how the stacks work and how you gain them, and basically overall gave them a slight nerf. It's like they're all over the place trying to figure out how to balance this, it seems. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I know her appearance is also kind of... Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind it, but I did like her original design in the story, so it would have been nice if we could have kept that as well. That's for sure. How you guys doing though? I hope you had a great weekend. I'm glad you guys got to see you guys. So today I'm planning on like we're gonna finish this book today. Absolutely. We have like 40 pages left. And after that, we're probably gonna be starting with RE2 today. Finally. But damn, my back is like has been like killing me the last few days. It's getting bad. Getting bad. I was waiting for that, Lily. I was like, eventually. Knowing you, it's gonna happen. Thank you for 100 bits. I appreciate you, Lily. I was in my head. I was like, I was surprised you didn't come in with like your first thing being the 100 bits. Like, oh, okay. Half expecting it. Superconductor. Yeah, it's like Superconduct itself doesn't really get anything new. It's just a Stella Conduct, and it's like it seems like they're basically just gonna abandon normal Superconduct in any way.
Sneak Eye 3.
focus. And their focus is going to be on the Stellar Conduct. It would have been cool if Eula would have gotten something, like maybe turn her ultimate into a Stellar Conduct hit or something if you trigger Stellar Conduct, instead of being physical, to make her more viable again. Because like she's definitely mostly held back by the fact that she is a physical unit. I think her damage number values and like the motion values she has would still somewhat hold up nowadays. But it's the fact that she's basically locked to physical. And like, what do we really have for physical? We have Superconductor Shred. We have characters like Mika and Rosaria that shred. And yeah, that's kind of it, right? I mean, Zhongli's shield would shred as well, but like we don't really have that much for physical. It's sadly so underutilized. Like the fact that I mean, it makes sense. The whole game and the whole combat system is built around the reactions and the elements and stuff. So it being more of the focus makes sense. But the thing is that Superconduct in its original form seems to have been made in mind with being able to run physical comps, which I guess, you know, 1.0, you like during 1.0 to 1.6 and all, you could, like, Eula was a good character back then, but once they've really started honing in on the reactions, especially with Sumeru and like Aggravate and Bloom, like when Dendro got introduced, it's just been downhill for physical. Really, like, it's sad. I love playing Freminet, for example, but Freminet is also mostly a physical unit unless you want to play him in like a weird cryo setup. So, and then right now as well, the problem is, you know, we got buffs for Wriothesley and Cyno, for example. They're both on-field DPS. They need their on-field time. The thing is, since they're pulling something similar to what they did with Ineffa, where we got Ineffa before Notcry, so we had like a little taste of the Lunar Charge reaction. You need Sandrone on the team to enable Stellar Superconduct, which, like, if you play Sandrone herself, it's totally fine. Like, you can play Sandrone, Yai, Chi-Chi, Nicole, or Sandrone, Yai, Chi-Chi, Scoffier or something like that, like, or Beto, whatever. Like, it seems like a Scoffier, Yai, like Yai and Chi-Chi is like the best core right now compared to the rest. But if you want to play Cyno, for example, you would play Cyno, Yai, Chi-Chi, Sandrone, and Sandrone literally is just on the team to enable the reaction. You wouldn't have like any on-field time with her at all. You wouldn't even switch to her. You basically just play Yai, Chi-Chi, and like, you just play three character comp with Yai, Chi-Chi, and Cyno, with Sandrone just being there to have the reaction enabled. So right now, there isn't really like a great fourth option. So I hope that obviously with Snitch and Aya, we're gonna get like supports that enable Superconduct, like Stellar Conduct, and do more things to like buff it or just help out to do like off-field damage or like rest shred or something. That also can be utilized by Cyno and Wriothesley and all that, so you can actually play them in a full like DPS team and is not reliable on just put Sandrone on the team to enable the reaction but never use her in combat. But we'll have to see what kind of characters we're going to be getting throughout the Snitch Naya cycle. I am excited to see what we get. I am looking forward to it. But I have no idea where we're going. I have no idea where anything is going. So I am just here for the ride. Let me go check something real quick. But yeah, we'll see where that's going. I am very excited to see. I feel like also, since like Stellar Superconductor is only the first thing, we're gonna get like 2 or 3 other reactions on top of that. And I want to see how those play out, because like Mizuki was one of the other characters that got buffed, but there's like nothing much known yet on like what she's gonna be able to do. Can't wait to build Mizuki. I kind of want to build her at some point as well. She does look really fun. I do like her gameplay, and I really like her character as well. Her story quest was really good. Mizuki, but yeah, Mizuki was also one of the characters that got buffed in the whole batch. Like Yae, Wriothesley, Cyno, Diona, Beidou, Mizuki, Chi-Chi. And like the Mizuki changes felt weird compared to everything else, because there is a rumor that we're gonna get like a new swirl reaction kind of thing as well throughout Sinishnia, like a Stella swirl or something. And maybe those buffs are to like prepare Mizuki for that, but we'll have to see, because I think the buffs give her like some crit and stuff in as well, and right now it just feels out of place because swirls cannot crit. So why would you want to build crit on Mizuki? Right now, Mizuki, you just build full EM on VV, because VV buffs swirl damage and EM increases swirl damage. So you just go full EM VV, no crit, nothing. That's all you really need. But maybe with that new swirl reaction, similar to how, you know, all of the Luna and Stella reactions can crit, that new swirl reaction might be able to crit. And then you can actually do like a crit Mizuki build. Like maybe you do EM main stat with crit substats or something. So that might change her build. Let's go to 5 stats for Venti. Let's fucking go. Hell yeah, Lily. So we'll have to see what will happen with like the swirl reaction and Mizuki in that regard. So from what I've heard, there's like 3 new things. There's like a swirl thing, the stellar conducting, and apparently we also might be getting a Dendro and Cryo reaction, because we don't have that yet. Dendro and Cryo do not react with each other. So maybe we'll see like a resurgence of some of the Dendro units as well, because right now, apart from, you know, the characters that are in Luna Bloom, even like Nahida and all, they have been falling off a little bit. So maybe we'll see a little resurgence with those. That would be nice. Like maybe I'll Hate Them gets more playtime again. Maybe Tainari is going to see more playtime. All that kind of stuff. That could be fun. I'm excited to see where that's going. But I mean, right now most of it is speculation, so we'll have to see and wait until the updates come out and we have more news on it. Right now we're still on everything just Stellar Conduct and Sandrone, and all the beta changes every time. It's just, oh my god, they like the way I don't know, it feels like they're still heavily experimenting on what exactly they want to do with the Stellar Conduct. As like I feel like these have been some of the most amount of changes in the beta cycles we've had in a while. We're like, oh, we're buffing Sino, we're nerfing Sino. We're buffing Sino, we're nerfing Stellar Conduct. We're gonna buff Miko, we're gonna buff Sandrone, we're gonna buff Wriothesley. We're gonna reduce Stellar Conduct again, because and then we're gonna increase Stellar Conduct, and then we're gonna nerf it again, and then we're gonna change how you trigger the stacks, which inherently seems to be a slight nerf again. It's like, make up your mind, Hoyo. What do you want to do? It seems though with version 4, before they changed like the stacks stuff again, they have figured out a decent balance on where the characters' motion values are supposed to be and their multipliers. Because even though right now you'd basically, for Wriothesley and Sino, you basically just put like a dead slot on the team, quote unquote, by, you know, putting Sandrone on the team just for the fact to enable Stellar Conduct, but you don't really use her at all. You don't on-field her, you don't do any damage. Their 3-man team DPS is on a similar level to like the full 4-character Sandrone teams. So if we inevitably get a independent support that can work in both teams, their DPS will probably be balancing out with like Sandrone going slightly ahead compared to like Sino and Wriothesley. But they should be around a similar level. I would hope so. Need low-end funds. I'm just waiting for Sandrone. I don't know. I don't really care that much for Lowen's gameplay. I haven't done his story yet, so yeah, we'll see what they're gonna be doing. We should be getting the live stream somewhat soon, I think, right? Since we're in the second half of the update now. We're getting close to the next update. Getting close to Luna 8, I think, right? Should be Luna 8. Shouldn't that also be the summer event, I think? I'm not sure, but it might be. Curious what kind of event we're gonna be getting this year. I believe how long I've played now. I just wish they would do another Golden Apple Archipelago. I would love to see another Golden Apple Archipelago. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed the first, like the 2 we had. To be fair, all the summer events so far have been a hit for me, except the Sumeru Bottle Land one, which was the third summer event. I think it was Golden Apple, then Golden Apple, like it was Klee Golden Apple, Fischl Golden Apple, I think, then it was Sumeru Bottle, then we had Simulanka. Is a little pet you can have her float next to you, yeah, and she's used for certain things in the desert to unlock as well. You have to do the Golden Slumber world quests to get it, I think. Oh man. That's another thing. Speaking of pets, they should bring back the Treasure Sealy event. A bit interesting. Yeah, like considering the newest story quest, the newest Archon quest. But yeah, they should bring back the Treasure Sealies. Bring back the Treasure Hunting Sealy event. You've done it 4 times, Hoyo. Once in every version until Fontaine. Like, Fontaine was the last one. Give us the Treasure Seeking Sealy event. I need more color, different colored Sealy. There were so many like old events that I would like to see like a new version made of or something. Mostly the Treasure Sealy and Golden Apple. I'm kind of like, who could they bring, like, for another Golden Apple? What would they do though? Like, who could they bring in? What kind of story could they tell? Because the first one was just, you know, Alice was kind of just like conducting it for Klee to have a fun time at summer. And like Jean and Barbara came along, and then Kaya and Diluc and Razor were also kind of just there. And then like the second one was like a heavy lore drop for like Fischl and Mona backstory. With a little bit of a Kazuha story sprinkled into it as well, which was kind of nice. I mean, to be fair, you know who needs some fucking story again? Like, who needs to make a fucking appearance, in my opinion, but in any kind of event? Because I think the last time they had an appearance on like a major event was like during Sumeru or something. Give my girl Xinyan something. Like, I think the Tatarasuna, was it Tatarasuna? I forgot. It's like an event in Inazuma, but I think it was already during the Sumeru updates, where you had like a roguelike game mode and like an Inazuman domain kind of thing. And like Xinyan was a big part of that. So like, come on. I mean, to be fair, a lot of the 4 stars, like all the 4 stars, have been kind of neglected, I would say, to like get some story. But I would love to see if they could get some more stuff for them. I'm still also kind of sad that they've basically abandoned Hangouts, because I actually enjoyed Hangouts. I actually really enjoyed Hangouts. Oh my god, my neck. But yeah, like, considering the last one we got was Lynette's in like the beginning of Fontaine as well, like we have so many new 4-star characters that I would just love to have like a hangout with, and you know, get to know them more and have some more story with them, or just any kind of story. Gaming, where like the only thing you have with Gaming, like the only Gaming story you have was Lantern, right? Where we really got to know him and his backstory. And well, you cannot replay those Lantern Rite events, so yep. There's like so many 4-stars that I would like to have some more story with. And like, there is the possibility as well that they could have made, you know, part 2 of certain characters as well, considering we have like 2 Noel ones as well. So who's to say we couldn't have had like a second Bennett one after like his Natlan adventures, where you got to know about his origins and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's so much potential and so many options they could have done for more Hangouts and just more story for 4-stars in general. Elo Hangout would be cool, yeah. A Yahoda Hangout could be funny as hell. Honestly, a Yahoda Hangout would be so fun. It's like, there's so many things they could do that, like, I feel like they just kind of abandoned that whole thing, that whole idea. It's like, yeah, we'll keep the ones we have in the game because, you know, there's Primos involved, but we're not gonna make new ones. I've had all of the Hangouts done for such a long time now. I wish there was more. I want to do more of them. I love doing them. I think there's only like 2 or 3 I kind of just skipped through because I didn't really care too much. And I think it was partially Kaya's and Hazo's. I think those were the 2 that I kind of just like skipped through, but every other one I didn't skip through. I got all the endings. I've done everything you can in those. I had a lot of fun with them. Layla was one of my favorites. Noel's were pretty fun as well. Noel was just absolutely cute in them. I learned that from the trailer. Damn, that's very unique. Absolutely. Look, Kaya is an interesting character in and of himself. I mean, he is of Conrian descent, and there's like this whole mystery still around his character and everything, and like his origin and intentions, really. Like, they could explore that so much more. These trailers are really cool. Yeah, I mean, you definitely the, like, you know, Kaya, Venti, and ones all like from like 1.0. They're definitely showing their age compared to the newest ones we have nowadays. But I think the first one that really stepped up, where like you could see like, oh, they're putting their budget into them now. Like, oh, this is like actual going crazy. I think was the Farina one. The Farina one was so good. So, and I mean, and then you had like a Natlan, you had Shilonen's music video, you had Mawika's song. Like there were so many cool trailers. Even the Nordcry ones, like I still think Nefers is so fucking good. Siegeweens was so cute. Varka's was really fun. It's like there's so many things they're doing nowadays, but like I wish they would I wish they would give us some more like hangouts and just fight a 4-star character story or something. It's gonna be interesting to see what they're gonna make for Sandrone and everything as well, because those should come out very soon as well. Again, we're in the second half of the update. Like in about a week they should start like dropping all the trailers and the live stream announcements, getting everything ready for the update. I'm not sure if we're gonna get like many more beta changes. I think like V5 is usually the final one before it hits live, but considering how many changes we've already had, like I wouldn't be surprised if there's gonna be like another version like, oh wait, we're gonna make some very last minute changes to completely screw teams over again or something. It's like, let's just nerf Sino back into the ground. He doesn't deserve to be played or something. Like that would be insane. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think at least character motion value wise, they've figured out how to balance them, but they're still tweaking the Stellar Conduct stuff. Lots of D-Loop buffs. That would be nice as well, absolutely. Hi Iris, how you doing? There's a lot of things still that we'll have to look forward to and see. I'm doing good, Iris. We're just doing a little bit of yapping right now, but we're gonna hop into the book here very soon and finish that up. We have like 40 pages to go through, and then we're done. We're gonna be done with Cat Dragon today. I'm excited. I'm curious how this is gonna end. And I mean, we know there's gonna be sequel book coming out in January next year. So I'm excited for that. But also, once we're done with Cat Dragon, next week we're gonna have Gallant, the new book that I've already picked up. I'm a little silly. You're always silly, Lily. Honkai, yeah, the Honkai event was a lot of fun. The Honkai events for me are a very big hit or miss. I've skipped out on so many of them because I just didn't like what they like the gameplay or anything. I don't know, but the plane one I really liked. I definitely liked that one and played through it. I should definitely do some more Honkai stuff as well, though, because I want to get Rin for Archer and then save for Nihilux. Oh, that Nikkei event was pretty cool as well. Yeah, I enjoyed watching it. That was fun. But yeah, I need to do some more Honkai stuff as well and just see how if I can get Rin for Archer and then kind of want red. Yeah, I would probably either go red or blue. And the fact that like we can just recognize the VA so quickly now. I just like in Marvel Rivals, I immediately knew who Cyclops' VA was. Like I heard the voice line, I heard one of his voice lines, and I was like, he sounds familiar. I was like, he sounds familiar. Zandrone versus Skirk, who would win? Lore-wise, probably Skirk, maybe? Currently, DPS-wise, in gameplay, I think Zandrone might be higher. And like, we're probably going to be getting some like more dedicated, better supports for her team throughout Snezhnaya, just like we did with like Nefa getting Flynn's and then like all of the other Luna units. So we're probably going to be seeing an even more bigger increase in DPS for Zandrone. So I feel like Skirk has been a victim of the power creep so fucking quickly. It's insane. You want to go for it? Yeah. Like, I think Skirk right now is below the Luna teams, and now with Nicole and Prune, I think even below Varka. And Zandrone is slightly behind Varka right now, I would say. So maybe they're about even, but I feel like once we get more dedicated Stella Conduct units and a more cohesive team and maybe some other artifact sets as well, because I mean, right now all we have is that whatever it's called, like Tidal Shadow or something in the new domain. That's gonna be, I don't know, well, Tidal Shadow is actually a weapon, but like that new set for Superconduct that's gonna be like for Zandrone and possibly Yae Miko as well. Like once we also get like a supportive superconduct set and like some supportive units, I feel like Sandrone will probably overtake Skirk for sure, DPS wise. Now gameplay fun, I enjoy playing Skirk. Like I have Skirk on my second account, on my NA account. I do like in events and Skirk is a trial and is available. I do like playing her. She's pretty fun. I don't know yet about Sandrone, but from what I've seen, it's basically you just charge attack with Sandrone, where you have like the pew 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 pew. And you have an overheat mechanic where like after like 3 or 4 shots or something, like the big lasers, you would overheat and you go on like a cooldown or something, but your skill like reduces the heat like by so much apparently that it makes the whole heat mechanic completely trivial. So like we'll have to see. I'll have to get my hands on her and like actually play her to see if I like the gameplay or not. But I do enjoy Skirk's gameplay. And you know, the thing is, even like if you guys see me play, I still heavily use Neuvillette. Neuvillette has been a victim of power creep for a good while now as well already. Like he's been falling behind further and further each patch. Like each new unit, especially with like the Luna stuff, like I mean technically the highest team DPS with a Neuvillette in there, right? I think is actually a like the Benefa wheelchair where you play just like Columbina and Nefa Luna charge and you just have like Neuvillette do shit in there, but like, it's mostly Columbina and Nefa doing the damage. Neuvillette is just kind of there, and yeah, like I think my Neuvillette, and keep in mind like I have C1 Farina, Shilonen with Sig, Farina with Sig, I have Neuvillette with Sig, like my Neuvillette has a very decent build on top of that as well, and like he can't even crack the 100k DPS mark, which I think, looking at modern Genshin and the enemies and everything, I feel like your teams would like would want to aim to at least get like 120k to be able to comfortably clear most of the content right now. And yeah, it's getting crazy with the power creep, that's for sure. Gonna be numbing assistants on the team and yet another being a rage bait. It would be nice if they could work together, but Freeze doesn't really fit much into the Stella stuff, into Stella Conduct. Which is very unfortunate. Yeah, it's just very sad to see where the power creep has been heading. I am absolutely not a fan of the power creep at all. What if Harbinger teams becomes a thing? That would be cool. But like, I'm also trying to think like which Harbingers really have a synergy right now that you could play together. And I mean, technically Bina isn't a Harbinger anymore, but if we include her in, it's like, I guess you could do Bina Arlecchino a little bit. Like the Hydra application from Bina is fine with Arlecchino. But yeah, maybe they could do something. I would. It would be cool to see like a Harbinger team. That's because about Yoimiya buffs. She's among the pack, which comes naturally next in line. I mean, I would love to. I would love to see some Yoimiya buffs. I haven't really heard anything personally. Scaramouche, I think he could be. The problem is that apart from like if we call Bina a Harbinger still as well for the sake of the teams, most of the Harbingers are on-field DPS. Child, on-field DPS. Wanderer, on-field DPS. Arlecchino, on-field DPS. Bina's like the only one that can do off-field stuff. So it's kind of hard to figure out, like, unless they do some like unique buffs that give them some on-field potential. I don't think it's gonna be realistic, sadly, but it would be so cool. I would love to see that come to fruition. That would be a fun concept. I mean, hey, if they're gonna buff Yoimiya, you know I'm gonna be on that anyway. Like, I love my Yoimiya. I still play her. I mean, I just upgraded her team with putting Duran on there as well, so... Alright, and both Archon being so low in meta is preposterous. She had her space in the meta when she was out. That's for sure. It's another just unfortunate power creep, you know? Venti... I would say Venti's in an okay spot with the buffs, but you're also like restricted into really just playing like a Hexorite team. I would say his best team right now probably would be Prune, Nicole, Duran, Venti. So basically the Varka team, but instead of Varka you play Venti. And like, I was able to 36 star the Abyss. Like, I did another run of like with the Abyss now that I have Duran, and I did Venti, Duran, Bennett, Farazan first half with and then just my Nephra team second half, and I was able to 36 star with that. And my Venti isn't the greatest build right now. He's at like 80 crit rate over 190 crit damage on Skyward Hot with level 7 normal attack or something. Like, I could improve Venti a lot still, but yeah, it's fun. I don't think I can clear Stygian with it though. Like Stygian level 5, I don't think I can do the wolf with that though. As much as I would love to be able to clear Stygian 5 this time around, because I was so close. Again, the thing is, in like last cycle and this cycle, there was just one boss that I couldn't do for Stygian level 5. Like last cycle it was the Papilla, this cycle it's the wolf, and in both circumstances the team that got the closest on clearing it is my Gaming team. Like, why is it the Gaming team that gets the closest out of all of them? What DPS do you need to clear Stygian? I mean, if you're using the like kind of like shill characters that the mechanics are made for, I would say at level 5, probably around 120 to 140k. Yeah, my Gaming uses Mailed Flower event weapon. Like Stygian level 5 has pretty high DPS requirements already, I would say. And then if you go further, like if you go into like dire mode and everything, like the, or whatever it's called, like where you can get the weapon skins. Ugh, I don't even want to. On pizza, hey Sharky. 26 seems strong. Yeah, it's a significant upgrade, I think, for her. It seems. Yeah, we can go get some pizza, Sharky.
According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale, we now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale.
Hi Enzo, how are you doing? God, my hair is wild today. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. Let's see. I should make a soundboard and just have that on the soundboard. What's up, Enzo? I'm trying to see right now if I can find some of the HP values for the different modes and how much HP they have. Because I think the current one, I think the Watcher in the current one has the highest HP pool we've seen yet, but its mechanic can make it manageable to clear with less due to the fact that it does like percentage damage and you can trigger it multiple times, and you can also like react with it and actually get it down like pretty quickly. Excited for the new Overwatch season. I haven't really played much Overwatch recently. But yeah, I think the Watcher is like the highest HP pool right now, but like the HP pools in Stygian is just crazy. I'm trying to figure out right now where I can like actually look at it though. Oh, here. Okay, let's see. I don't know what difficulty
No.
Okay. Oh no. Oh no. no. I'm seeing the new Stygian onslaught already. Oh no. Oh no. I don't like this. Oh fuck. I don't like this lineup at all. I don't like this lineup at all. Fuck, man. What are they shilling? Luna and Natlan again, I would say. Jesus fucking Christ. Let me show you something real quick though, guys. So we got here. So this is the current lineup, right? So we have the Wolf, the Tulpa, and the Watcher. These are the HP values at difficulty 4. 4 million on the Wolf, 1 million on the Tulpa, 1 million on the Watcher. Difficulty 5, 9 million, 7 million, 13 million HP. And like, I can beat these two. I can't beat this fucker on 5. But like the jump as well, it's like, oh, 1.5, 13.5. Brother. Are you guys ready to see the nightmare that's gonna be the next one? I am not ready. I am not ready. So this is the lineup of the next one. This is a new boss. I don't know what it does yet, so you know. And then we got the Wild Hunt thingy back with the Lunar Shield and the summons, and we have the Secret Source Automaton that spawns the pillars you have to climb and break. The first one, like the one you need for Shilonen and all. Yeah, this is going to be the next Stygian, I guess. Okay, let's see. When combat begins, the battle-hardened Pioneer Secret Source Control Array will deploy 4 detection devices protected with Hydro Wards, constructing a suppression field that will increase its all elemental res and physical res. When the field has been active for some time, the Nemesis will unleash an Alpha Strike, dealing AoE damage over a massive area and retrieving all detection devices deployed. It will then deploy a Hydro Ward whose absorption strength corresponds to the number of devices retrieved. The detection devices will be destroyed when a Hydro Ward is broken, and if they are frozen and then affected by shatter, melt, or other reactions. After all detection devices are destroyed, the suppression field will also be destroyed and the Nemesis will be paralyzed. Okay, so obviously you want to bring like freeze, melt, whatever kind of thing to like counter its mechanic. It's like this isn't even good for I mean, they are Hydro Shields, so I guess you could do like Sandrone maybe here. It's like this is during her patch, right? So like this could be the Sandrone boss. And then, well, you have the Lunar Shill boss, which you could run Flints, you could run Zabai, you could run Nefer. And then for this one, I don't know. I hate this boss so much. I'm probably just gonna run like a team with Shilonen on there or something. Like maybe my Neuvillette is enough for the 5 million HP on difficulty 4. I'm not sure if I can do 8 million HP, but yeah. Like I can confidently say, even on difficulty 5, I can shred this thing. I can kill this. My Nefer is insane. She's gonna kill this. No, I don't doubt that I will kill this. The other two though, I am not sure. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, this is the new lineup, guys. This is the new lineup. Yippee. All right. I need to bookmark this website though. Because I think this is the one like a lot of people use. Thank you for the lurk, Lemons. I appreciate it. Does it not include? I thought this included like, huh? I guess I have to figure out this website. Because I think this should also show like other content. I don't know. Anyway, are you guys ready for the book? Let's start with the book for today. Let's finish up the book. We've done enough yapping for now. We gotta do the book. I mean, it's not gonna take too long anyway. We have like 40 pages left, guys. We got this. We can get through this today. Oh man. Ugh. All right. So we're now at chapter 29. It had to be here. Maybe the new Guardian was extremely small. If the animal inside Cascomb's axolotl Guardian was anything like its non-magical counterpart, it would be about the size of a kitten. They just had to look. Hollis seemed to have come to the same conclusion since he was moving around the circular room, his head turning this way and that, as if he might find the creature clinging to the wall like a gecko, or else hanging from the inside of the golden rooftop like a fruit bat. The truth was, the room didn't offer many places to hide. What Aloysia could see of it, from her position on the floor beside Lingui, was mostly empty, but for 3 tarnished bronze statues. A bat, a lizard, and a phoenix, and several metal chairs pushed against the opposite curve of the wall. Aloysia gave Lingui a grateful ruffle, then wobbled to her feet and made her way stiffly but determinedly around the perimeter of a room lit by a cluster of the orbs from the main body of the tower. The distancing enchantment having apparently begun to wear off. Lizard. We like lizard. Was it definitely supposed to be here? Hollis asked Lon as he searched. Aloysia saw him bend down to inspect the floorboard and then remember exactly what was waiting underneath. You're sure we weren't supposed to find it first and bring it with us? Lon? Hollis and Aloysia turned to look at her. She had taken Sheikah from Eckert and was clinging to her comatose body, stroking her hair in spite of the fingers of Lycan. You'll be poisoned, Aloysia cried, hurrying over and crouching in front of her. But as she reached the two women, she saw that the hacked Lycans were dry and white. When Lon's fingers brushed against one, it flaked and fell off. This close to Sheikah, Aloysia couldn't help but stare down at her. Something so awful she'd been avoiding facing it. To see her so stricken, so still. Aloysia's chest tightened. Tears pricked her eyes, but she bit them back, reminding herself that the best thing for Sheikah was to get this over with and get her out of here. Her eyes roved around the windowless room, and for a moment she allowed herself to wonder how exactly they were going to do that. Without flying the same gauntlet that had brought them up here in reverse. It's not here. Eckert interrupted her thoughts bluntly from where he stood a few feet away. His lower half was obscured by a lingering Otari who was rubbing his head against Eckert's legs. We have to face the fact that it might not have been as lucky as we were against the Vine. There was a heavy pause. Eckert, Aloysia, and Hollis stared around at each other. And she knew they were all reliving the trials they had just been through. What were the chances of a juvenile animal, guardian or no, making it through that unaided? It will be there, Lon said in the quietest, slowest voice Aloysia had heard her use. She clutched the shallowly breathing Sheikah to her as she spoke. Prophecy was quite clear on that point. But there are no animals here, Eckert argued, unless you're suggesting that preternaturally skilled at camouflage, or it can turn itself into a table. A table? The words left Aloysia's mouth before she'd fully formed the thought. Eckert nodded and gestured offhandedly to something beside him and behind Otari. As Aloysia stood up, she felt something tug at her skirt. Lon's hand, maybe, but she was already moving towards Eckert. That she knew what she was going to see before she saw it didn't make it any less shocking to lay eyes on the long rectangular golden table from the vision. Aloysia bent her head to make sure and saw the same line of jewels and the same pattern glinting on the plinth underneath. She staggered backwards. Are you suggesting you're a more skilled prognosticator than one of the 8? Lan was snapping at Eckert, her eyes filled with tears. Because if you are, then I want a word with you about how you let this happen. What is that? Lan snatched a hand back out of Sheikah's hair, swearing as Hollis hurried over. It's glowing. I am suggesting, said Eckert, folding his barrel arms in front of his chest defensively and looking quickly at Sheikah and away again, that few animals I've ever heard of could have made it up to the tower, and none could penetrate a roof made of whatever this is, he said, marching over to where the golden cone met the stonework, reaching up and banging on it meaningfully. Instead of the awful clanging Aloysia had expected to it rang like a bell. She would know, Lan said, letting a tear slide down her cheek and holding Sheikah close as Hollis inspected her hair, moving sections of it aside with extreme caution. It's one of the grubs, he told Aloysia. From Casticombe. He leaned towards the grim, wriggling thing and sniffed it. You think the new Guardian is a grub? Said Eckert. His voice was almost completely mocking, but with a note of wild optimism. Solanine? Hollis mused, ignoring Eckert. Very faint, though. Like Aloysia chloratica, Aloysia said vaguely. She saw Hollis and Eckert there share a questioning look. Hollis seemed reassured that the scientist also had absolutely no idea what Aloysia was talking about. It's a sea slug that photosynthesizes, she explains, her mind half elsewhere. It had been interesting at the academy learning about a plant that was also an animal, if only their studies had extended to the 50-foot kind. It gets stability from the plants it feeds on. These grubs probably get their poison from the lycanthropes. But it's not the new Guardian? Hollis asked uncertainly. The grub you're holding isn't part plant, if that's what you're asking, Aloysia said, with surprising serenity, and she marched across the room and leaned over him. But if it only smells faintly, and it's only glowing faintly, she said as she looked down on it, then I'd say it is hungry. With that, she took the dagger out of Hollis's belt and held it out to the grub. With a wave of its front end, the creature slithered onto it. Once the grub had seized its oozing and she could see its body rippling as it tried to consume the dagger, she flipped it over and dropped the grub onto Sheikah's cheek. Not her face, Hollis blurted. Lan wailed and threw out an arm to bat Aloysia away, but even as Aloysia watched, the fluorescent violet that had now pulsated from the purple-black patch on Sheikah's right cheek across the bridge of her nose began to drain away. It's working, Hollis breathed. There was a chance of a scar, but Sheikah would live. Lan stifled a laugh. It's helping? Her free hand squeezed Sheikah's. See if we can find any more, Aloysia said, handing Lan the dagger and standing up before wrapping her arms around herself, rubbing them as if she was cold. But don't touch them with your bare hands unless you're in the market for a pet for life. Though she felt a small thrill of relief that she had been able to help Sheikah, it was overwhelmed by panic at what the vision was trying to tell her. As she stood up again, her eyes slid in the direction of the table which Eckert was now examining. He glanced up and met her gaze. The look on his face was grave and suspicious. "Witch Papelwick, tell me I'm wrong," he said in a low voice, holding Aloysia's eyes with that piercing glare. "But there is one animal I can think of that fits here." "Well, it's one more than I've got," Hollis said, standing to with a shrug. "Let's hear it." Aloysia chewed her lips reluctantly, and she reached out and took her pack from Hollis's shoulder. "We're looking for an animal that made its own way here," Eckert said, his eyes on Hollis now. "A creature born any time between a few days ago and last spring. One that's shown signs of being oddly affected by the loss of magic. Growing or changing rapidly, perhaps. One who could feasibly be the child of a dragon and a griffin. And for those at the back of the class, the griffin is part bird, part big cat." At this point, Aloysia had begun to back slowly towards the hatch. She didn't know what she planned to do yet, only that it wasn't what Eckert was about to suggest. She stiffened as he nodded to somewhere around to the hem of her skirt. She looked down and saw Littlewick, unsteady on his back legs, tugging at it with his claws. He was completely white. "You let him out?" she demanded of Eckert, shrugging her pack onto her shoulder and lifting a shivering Littlewick. He was cold to the touch. "I didn't know he was in there," Eckert said, shaking his head and holding up his hands. "I just noticed him a few moments ago." Aloysia narrowed her eyes at him, seething, but she believed him. "You can't mean Littlewick," said Hollis, looking from Eckert to Aloysia with a twisted smile, as though they were colluding in a terrible joke that he wanted to laugh along with while also wanting it to stop. "He's not part dragon and part griffin, part dragon, part lion, whatever you think. He's a cat dragon." Hollis balked, incredulous. "Like everyone else's. If it could be him, then it could just as easily be Lingui or Atari." "They're both too old," came Sheikah's voice croakily, and they all turned to look at her, lying in Lan's arms and smiling hazily up at the relief on her face. "And they haven't been affected by the magical fluctuations. Even Hidira didn't change color. Is this because of the compost?" Aloysia bit back at Eckert, ignoring Sheikah, her heart fluttering in her chest. "You're scared I'll use it if the new guardian has roots, weaken the snow griffin, so you want it to be Littlewick. You're biased." Eckert was shaking his head, his eyes hard. He was offended by the accusation. "Maybe he is," broke Sheikah, holding her hands up. "It doesn't make him wrong." "But the flickering!" "It's been known," croaked Sheikah. "It's highly unusual for an animal other than a cat dragon to complete the flickering with a magic user. But it's not unheard of. never fully takes, though. You said you haven't bonded? Second. There you go. I don't know if we have, Alicia cried. I haven't checked for days. Sheikah, Lan, and Eckert's eyes on her. She huffed and withdrew her wand. With a trembling hand, she held it out to Littlewick. He snapped weakly and caught it between his teeth. Come on, please. It was the longest moment of Aloysia's life before Sheikah said, I'm sorry. Aloysia stared at her and felt a childish pang of dislike. As if reading her mind, Sheikah said, looking at Aloysia regretfully, I told you he was rare and special. I don't want to hurt you, but I think there could be something to this. No, there can't be. But even as she thought the words, Aloysia remembered the feeling she'd had in the vision, the feeling that had pulled her up from her knees. Now that her mind was clear, she could name it. Joy. Whatever he was, this was what Littlewick wanted. All right, she nodded, lifting her chin and moving towards Eckert, Hollis grabbing her wrist again. But he'll be gone, Wick, he said, his eyes pleading. You don't know what the Guardians are like. They're absent, stoic, unknowable. It'll change him. He won't be the same Littlewick. I don't want this either, she said, unable to raise her voice above a whisper now. But he does. How can you know that? Hollis pressed, his eyes starting over her face. I felt it. She hesitated, feeling faintly ridiculous. In the false doll's eyes. He blinked, taking this in. You're trusting the plant? He said, looking at her like she just said she's going for a little dip with a kraken. The thing that tried to kill us? I know how it sounds, but I know plants, he said, holding his eyes in her ground, willing him to understand and to believe her. And I know this is right. I can feel it. Hollis shook his head, his mouth working angrily. She could see he was torn between wanting to support her and wanting to spare Littlewick. I'm sorry, tall, dark, and hurting, came Lan's voice. There was a gentleness to it that Aloysia hadn't heard before. She had knotted Lingui's leash back together and it dangled from her wrist as she put a hand on Hollis' shoulder. To both of them, she said, You heard the prophecy. If we don't do this by sunset, and he is the new guardian, he's going to die. But if we do this, and he isn't, Hollis said, his chest rising and falling more shallowly more than ever now. What happens then? I don't know, Aloysia said honestly. She looked into his face and recognized the desperation for her certainty. She could give it to him, but not in the way he wanted. But look at him, she said, her voice a whisper again as she turned to Littlewick. The shivering had subsided now, but his face and limbs were twitching intermittently, with a tightness and a wincing quality that could only be pain. "He's suffering," she whispered. The last few words were almost stemmed by the tightness in her throat. She looked Hollis full in the eyes now and forced a firmness into her voice. "I won't allow that." Hollis looked up at her sharply, and she saw him realize how alone she felt. "I won't either," he said, standing up straighter. All right, he repeated, convincing himself. "Whatever it takes to keep him safe." He put out his hand, took the one around her wand and squeezed it. She squeezed back. Together. The walk to the table went by too quickly, and suddenly Aloysia was expected to let go of Ludovic. She clung to him, the room blurring in front of her as she looked from his twitching frame to the shimmer of color that she knew contained Hollis. "It's all right," Hollis's voice said, and she felt his arm around hers, around Ludovic. "I've got you." If Hollis hadn't been the one taking him, Aloysia wouldn't have been able to give Ludovic away. She gasped for air and buried her face in her hands. And when he'd laid him down, dwarfed by the surface like a banquet table, Aloysia stood over Ludovic and put a hand over his ribcage so she could feel the slow pulse of his heart. "I love you," she whispered to Ludovic. "I need you to know that. Where you are now, and whatever you're going to be." Behind her, Hollis wrapped his arms around her, and she sagged against him. The feel of him was like she had reached the rocky shore of a lighthouse across a storm-ridden sea. Safe. She took a deep, steadying breath. "I know you," she said through tears to Ludovic. "I know the deepest kernel of you. Whether you're a cat dragon or a dragon lion or the new guardian." She felt a delicate, barely there vibration run through Ludovic's body. It was so weak for a second to realize that he was purring. "Thing changes," he said with a sharp intake of breath, as she thought of the cottage and the greenhouse. And now this. Everyone changes. She thought of the Aloysia she had been, the witch who'd harbored feelings for Hollis from afar without admitting them to herself. Who'd rarely dared to leave her cottage, let alone bring anyone into it. "But this between us," she said, lifting her hand from Ludovic to her chest, before placing it gently back again. "This is constant." Ludovic's twitching and wincing stopped, and she felt an immediate rush of panic. But placing her hand quickly back on his ribs, she could feel his heart was still beating, softly. She told herself that something she had said had helped. And then she twisted and buried her face in Hollis's chest, laying out a handful of sobs before the fear that the sun could set while they just stood there took over. And she raised her head again. "How does this work?" Eckert was saying to Lan a few steps away, gesturing to the table. "I've looked all over the thing. There are no mechanisms, no runes, nothing." "I've been thinking about that," said Lan, matter-of-factly. "And the obvious answer is magical transference." can do that? Said Aloysia blankly. Recently, not so much. But historically, absolutely yes, Lan replied. It's actually quite straightforward. It's the wand, she said, raising her own. And the touch. And there's always a golden conduit. She marched over to the table and rapped smartly on it. It rang out like a bell, the same sound as the roof. This isn't, Aloysia said, shame creeping in her voice. Collective magic, is it? Without the bond, It's not collective magic, said Lan briskly. Just the three of us using our individual magic at the same time. Now, you and you, Lan said, pointing first to Aloysia, then to Eckert. With me, hand on the table, wand on the guardian. Nobody moved, spoke. Aloysia had winced at the word guardian. She knew it was just Lan being Lan, but in this moment, she wished she could just be a little less cold. What? Demanded Lan. And then she stopped her gaze and added in a voice that was almost a whisper. I don't want him to go either. Sheikah staggered over to join Hollis. He put an arm to catch her and supported her weight as the two of them looked on. Aloysia, Lan, and Eckert gripped the cool golden table, through which Aloysia instantly felt a thrum. The same feeling as when she had touched the golden wand in Castacombe. Her eyes flicked to Lan, who was already muttering, Obalt. They touched their wands solemnly to Lidowic's fur. Lan muttered a few words that Aloysia couldn't make out, and the thrumming became a hum. A kind of liquid warmth traveling up Aloysia's wandless arm, as if someone had poured hot syrup directly into her veins. The sensation crossed her shoulders and traveled down her other arm, through her wand and into Lidowick, whose silken white fur began to stand on end. As the hum rose to a ring, Lidowick was lifted from the table, and Aloysia saw the filaments of lightning from the vision. Their magic, crackling through the air between him and the witches and wizard. As she watched, his sleeping frame unfolded until he hung in the same position as the one she had seen. His bottom half dangling as if there were unseen hands beneath his forelegs holding him aloft. His eyes opened, glowing red. The ringing rose, and Aloysia felt it in her ears, as if she had pressed a class bell to either side of her head. The crackling intensified until the flashes were so bright that none of them could keep their eyes open. The syrupy warmth became watery cold, and moments later, Aloysia began to shake. Somehow, her veins were choked with icy dryness. She dropped her wand. Eckert's and Lan's followed soon after, as they slumped to the floor at the base of the golden table. Aloysia heard Sheikah and Hollis coming. They were all either so frantic or spent that no one paid attention to the ringing continuing to grow. Eckert's eyes drifted open weakly and looked up directly at the golden ceiling. His forehead creased as a circle formed above them began to blaze red. All eyes turned now to the golden roof, and then to one another, and every person and cat dragon jumped or flung or rolled themselves out of the path of the thing that smashed through the hole that was blasted through the impregnable metal. And that's chapter 29. Oh boy. We're getting close, guys. We're getting close. I think like a stream or two ago I did say something that like, what if Littlewig is the Guardian? And I guess I was right. I guess I was right. That little scene though with Aloysia and Littlewick was so good. So heartfelt. All right. I'll have to be right back for just a moment, but then I almost cried. Oh, honestly, same. I was tearing up. All right, I'll have to be right back, and then the last 2 chapters of the book, guys. 2 more chapters. All right, I'm back. 1 second. Twitch is being Twitch right now and kind of like messing around things. There we go. All right. We got 2 more chapters to go through. Let's see how this gonna how is this gonna end? Chapter 30. Aloysia looked up just as the last of the violet flames rolled over the ceiling and died away. Where the thing had aimed its jet of fire at the golden rooftop, an enormous circular hole dripped molten metal onto the floor and in great deadly splashes. The roof gave a metallic creak like the roar of some gilded beast, and Lan, in Sheikah's arms where their resident zoologist had pulled her to safety, aimed a shaking wand at the destruction. She made a gesture with it that Aloysia didn't recognize, but which she guessed was designed to shore up the structure. Nothing happened. The effort of sharing their magic with Littlewig had drained it all from them. Even the ones who weren't connected to the failing well, they needed time to recover. By the ringing and creaking of the rooftop and the crunching, cracking sounds now emanating from the tower below them, time was something they didn't have. We have to get out of here. Littlewig, Aloysia bawled, standing unsteadily with the help of the phoenix statue and looking around her desperately. Littlewig, we have to... Her voice trailed away as she took in the scene. Behind Lan and Sheikah, Lingui lay sprawled. Her eyes were open, but she tried to push herself up and spread her wings. Aloysia saw a grayed, ragged tear through one of them. Sheikah yelped at the sight. On the other side of the room, Eckert knelt over Otari, who seemed to have skidded away with the golden table, which had landed heavily across the wing and the hind leg. Aloysia found Hollis and Littlewig hurrying away from her towards the thing that had come crashing through the ceiling. An enormous black ball hunched and heaving in a puddle of rainwater against the far wall. But Aloysia's attention was taken by her cat dragon, who had grown, but not nearly as much as she had expected. Littlewig was now about the size of a family dog. His mane was thick and luxuriant, a fluffy ruff around his neck. His color had returned, glossy russet as before, and there were no signs of branches, buds, or seeds on any part of him. What he did have was 2 tails. He's not the guardian, she thought desperately. We have no guardian? She threw a look over her shoulder through the gaping hole and saw a pink tinge suffusing the orange of the sky, the sun hanging low in it. We're too late? Stop! She shouted as Hollis reached a hand toward the great black ball, but she wasn't quick enough. The surface of the thing rippled to his touch, and Aloysia saw something that made her gasp. Feathers. It's Crow! Hollis shouted to her. How is it Crow? Exhausted, Aloysia crawled across the room to reach them and found herself looking into the beady black eyes, now the size of billiard balls. A faithful bird. He coughed, and a mote of flame caught a nearby floorboard, though Hollis smothered it vastly with a sleeve. Aloysia saw it. It was violet. The fire in the greenhouse on the day Aloysia had met Littlewig. The flames were not of a color she had seen since, even when Littlewig had set light to the chair in the library. His flame was pink. Seeing Crow in the kitchens of the corn exchange after they had been apart for just a few days, he had looked bigger. And when she had considered having him deliver the ingredients to Gifferborg, she'd been impressed with how his flight times have had shortened. When he'd met them in Stromoten, bringing news of the Guardian changing to its winter colors, he had fought with Lingui and Littlewig over a dragon nip. Even the place she had found Crow, in springtime as a bedraggled hatchling, that great fat cockatrice wasn't trying to suffocate him. It had hatched him. Because he was part dragon, part large black dragon, and part not crow, but eagle. The eagle part of a griffin. Okay, what? Oh, Crow. Aloysia breathed, feeling tears stream down her nose and splash into his feathers, each of which was now the length of her head. Why didn't you tell me? As she buried her face in the crook between his neck and the shoulder of his wing, she felt her cheek brush against something hard and round, something that didn't belong, and that, when she lifted a few feathers to look, was not alone. A seed. I... Crow rasped in his nasal voice, and Aloysia sat up and shuffled back so she could see his head properly. It was bowed against the wall and half tucked into his breast. Didn't understand. She thought of him in the greenhouse after the fire, how he had asked her what had happened, how he had looked as bewildered as she felt. Lan, Aloysia shouted. Eckert, Littlewig isn't the Guardian. It's Crow. We've got to help him. This, as Crow's eyes had slid closed in front of her. She put a hand on his wing and shook it, panicked. He didn't react. Lan, Sheikah, and Eckert sloped and staggered over, dropping to her side. What do you need? Said Lan with her usual efficiency. They all looked at Aloysia in their various states of injury and disarray and saw that they were all still ready and willing to help in any way she wanted. In spite of everything. She gulped back more tears. He needs magic, she said breathlessly. Lan and Eckert shared a worried glance, and Aloysia saw her panic reflected into their faces. Eckert said, and he set his jaw, forcing himself to speak. Compost. He nodded, not meeting her eyes. It's your only choice. She stared back at him, a wave of gratitude crashing over. Thank you, she said with feeling, but it won't do any good. She gestured to their seated friend. Compost needs roots. Eckert's expression battled relief and horror. Okay, Lan said hastily. Let's try our wands again. Sit him up. She glanced at the enormous golden table, which was almost on the other side of the room. We'll use the ceiling as a golden conduit. Together, they heaved the dragon griffin, now with the wingspan of a dining table, into position, his head resting against the base of the golden cone. Feeling idiotic, Aloysia got onto Hollis's shoulders, Lan and on Sheikah's, while Eckert could reach up on his own, and everyone placed a hand on the golden surface. Twisting and stretching awkwardly, the witches and wizard leaned down to touch Crow's feathers with their wands, and Lan spoke the spell into the ether. A moment later, when Aloysia regained consciousness, the three of them were on the floor. "Do we do it?" she murmured vaguely. "You just didn't have enough magic, sweetie," she heard Chica tell Lan beside her, and Aloysia's head lolled to look at Hollis, who gave her a solemn shake of his own. "You did everything right with the knowledge you had at the time," he told her. "And it wasn't enough," she said, and heard the strain in her voice. There was a crash from the other side of the room as the molten puddle that had formed underneath the hole in the ceiling finally melted through the floorboards, sending a circle of wood tumbling into the depths. "How are we going to get out of here?" Aloysia asked Hollis, fully comprehending in that moment that not only had they failed the valley, they'd also failed the cat dragons. The two who were large enough to take riders could barely get into their paws, let alone fly. A messenger bird? Chica could play her... Alicia's voice trailed away as she met Chica's eyes, and she saw, in the defeat there, that her friend had already tried, perhaps the moment they had passed out. "It's the ringing," Chica said, and Aloysia noticed that, while it wasn't as loud now, it was ever present. Like the ticking of a clock. "It ruined the harmonics. I can't reach anything through that." Hollis's grip on Aloysia's hand tightened. "Trust me when I say this," he said firmly. "I'm exactly where I want to be." So this was it. She had tried so hard. She had planned, prepared, and over-prepared. She had done things that made her excited and terrified and broken-hearted. She had followed the rules, and she had done everything the council asked, the way they'd asked her to. She had been a good witch. She'd helped. She'd even let herself believe that Littlewick wasn't really hers and sacrificed the one thing she had wanted all her life for the valley's safety. She had given every single thing she had, and this was what it came down to. Watching her beloved crow fade away before the tower they had damaged in an attempt fell to ruins with them inside. You know, it's important to you and you protect it. And I just really like that about you. I really like that about me too. There was a scrap, and everyone looked over to see the golden table at a diagonal, moving inexorably towards them. At first, Aloysia assumed Eckert's cat dragon must be pushing it, but Otari was slumped near it, where Eckert had left him, inspecting a wing that bent sickeningly as he raised it. It was broken. The table, Aloysia now saw as her eyes traveled down the golden plinth to the green tendril flicking behind it, was being moved by the vine. It had snaked up over the outside of the roof and into the hole left by Crow, being careful not to touch the molten edges. The entire tower gave a sudden tremble, and Aloysia wondered how much, if any, of the wavering winder was left to support the foundations. "Death by crushing or strangulation," said Eckert casually, as if asking who wanted coffee or tea. And he pushed himself up against the wall and cracked his knuckles. "You'll bring the place down even faster," said Aloysia, struggling to her own feet with some help from Hollis. She tried to lift Littlewick with her, but found he was too big to hold in her arms. He dropped down and twined between her legs instead, almost tripping her. The tower shook again, spattering hot golden metal against the walls and taking a few more of the floorboards with it. I think it's got that covered, said Eckert, and I'm not giving it the satisfaction of making us its last meal. He might be wheezing with every step, but his eyes were ablaze with determination. As Eckert had spoken, the vine had let go of the table and risen up. Near the terminus of its tendril was a beautiful white moth orchid, and it flapped its two orthogonal petals threateningly, like a cobra. Ayesha had felt the flicker of an idea somewhere in the back of her head. It might have been terrible, useless. Couldn't be sure it would even turn out to be coherent. I suppose we're going again, she thought. Though the sting in her sinuses and she blinked away tears, squared her shoulders, took a deep breath, and ran her eyes over the vine in search of the clues. The pitcher plant on the ground floor. How it had reshaped itself to stabilize the tower after Littlewick had broken free of it. The vision she has had in the false doll's eye. How it had shown her how to save Littlewick. She looked at Hollis and Eckert, marching forward to protecting the rest of them. At Lan and Sheikah, who had dived into to save each other every step of the way. There's still a way to save the new Guardian, Aloysia said, as Eckert aimed a fist like a mallet at the bloom of the orchid, and the vine swung out of his way, twisting to face Aloysia. Magical plants listen. That's what you want, isn't it? She said, as Hollis, Sheikah, and Lan fell back. What you were planted here for? She peered at the flower for any sign of response. By someone who cared for you, someone who sang you a lullaby, someone whose time on this earth was much shorter than yours, who seemed to be lost in the blink of an eye. But you never forgot the words, did you? She opened her mouth, and even though there were people around her who she was sure could have sung it much more prettily than she could, she sang the words of Littlewick's lullaby, of the prophecy that had brought them here to the flowering vine. The orchid's petals contracted as if closing its eyes, and it swayed rhythmically to the tune. When she had finished, it opened its petals, moving towards her expectantly. Aloysia held out her hand, and it pushed its tendril against her palm. I'm sorry to ask you this, she said, curling her hand around the tendril affectionately. But we need your help. The plant jumped back, all of its flowers hissing disgustedly at the others, who looked at each other quickly and hid their weapons behind their backs, bowing their heads in an effort to look contrite. Yeah. I need your help, Aloysia corrected. Can you spare some of your magic? The sun was sinking quickly now. The moon shone pink as the vine snaked under and around Crow's prone body, lifting Aloysia's enormous friend easily on the golden table. Aloysia offered the wavering winder her wand, but it seemed to know something she didn't, because it rejected it in favor of wrapping itself through the board, rectangular notch at the base of the broad rectangular notch at the base of the plinth and over Crow. So many times that Aloysia feared she might be aiding in Crow's death by constriction. And then the leaves, the buds, and the berries that lined the vine twisted and lengthened and broadened until they were each the size of a newly transformed Littlewick. These dark green leaves lay flat against Crow, and methodically they enfolded him until he resembled a great stuffed vine leaf. There was an almighty crunch that for one heart-jolting second, Alusia thought had come from the vine before she realized it was something else. Almost as horrible, the ground floor of the tower, left unsupported, had finally collapsed in and of itself. The whole room dropped like an elevator, and everyone was flung into the air before crashing down again. As she thudded onto the floor, she saw the leaves around Crow shimmer golden and expand. She reached for Littlewig, who had tried and failed to flap his wings hard enough to stay aloft, but pulled him under her chest, and Hollis to her side until the three of them were huddled in an arcing heap. If these were going to be their last seconds, she wanted to spend them together. There was a rumbling sound and a dizzying, rocking motion as stones far below them that had been slammed out of place began to roll and tumble like a landslide. Hugging Littlewig tight, feeling Hollis's arms close around them, Alusia saw the leaves expand again, so large this time that one of Crow's enveloped wings crashed into the stone wall while the other rang against the golden rooftop. She heard the ringing shift up and then plummet past them, and when she dared to open her one eye, it was to see that the roof had been torn clear off. The wind howled and whipped around them, and with a sound like a tearing of a bedsheet like the tearing of a bedsheet of a god, Crow burst out of the vine, scattering leaves and stem all over. Alusia jerked and choked in horror to her friend's magical botanical lifeline. And then Crow was no more. In his place, filling Alusia's vision, was an immense dragon griffin formed of twisted branches, sprouting flowers and wind-dispersed seeds. In spite of herself, Alusia's magical botanical mind identified dandelion clocks, cottonwood fluff, and the winged samaras of maple trees. Crow had spread his vast wings, and now he climbed onto the sky, driving himself upwards with the familiar bobbing of the head she had seen so many times. The world tipped slantwise, and Alusia, Hollis, and Littlewig tumbled across the wooden floorboards and out into the clear, rushing air, bitter shrieks and yells and yowls that accompanied them. Sheikah, Lan, Lingui, Eckert, and Otari had all suffered the same fate. As the shock overwhelmed her, and her grip on Hollis and Littlewig tightened, and the fuchsia pink sky fell away with fuchsia pink, the ground rising rapidly up to meet her, a voice sounded, not via Alusia's ears, but if it was being directly piped into her head. A high nasal voice. It said, "I think we'll call this even." And that's the end of chapter 30. Damn. Okay. Never mind. I was wrong. It's not Littlewig. It's fucking Crow. Fucking Crow? That was unexpected. I love it. I do too. Books playing with my emotions, right? Well, guys, we have reached Chapter 31, the final chapter of this book. Are you guys ready? Are you guys excited? Oh god. Yeah, there you go. Let's see how this all ends. Final chapter. Chapter 31. Silver winter sunlight streamed into the room from behind Aloysia, and for a moment she could fool herself into believing she was in the Papelwick cottage in her own bed. She had squeezed her eyes tight. It was her 5th day waking up back at the Corn Exchange, though the events of the tower had drained her so completely that she hadn't yet been able to get out of bed. She had spent most of her time drifting in and out of sleep, but for a few precious moments here and there in which she had held either Littlewick or Ivy's new baby. While she was grateful to be alive, this was always the hardest part of each day. Opening her eyes and not seeing Crow on his perch on a nightstand, pretending to be asleep so that she'd get him breakfast. Thank you, friend, she thought fervently, as if he could somehow hear her thoughts. She'd heard his when he had swooped down and caught them all as they fell from the spire. No one had seen him since he had deposited them in the Corn Exchange, giving poor Arnold, the groundkeeper, the fright of his life. Aloysia opened her eyes to see Ivy hovering in the doorway, her black slippered foot tapping uncomfortably. Sorry, Ivy said hastily. I didn't mean to wake you. Holly, he asked me to keep an eye on you. She gestured to one side of Aloysia's bed, where an armchair she recognized from the library had appeared overnight. The floor around it was littered with wood carvings. I tried to tell him you couldn't just set up camp in your bedroom, but he was adamant you'd be fine with it, Ivy said awkwardly, while struggling to meet Aloysia's eyes. I didn't know what you wanted. I'm sorry, Ivy, Aloysia said artlessly. I didn't know how to tell you about him. I didn't know what to tell you. I mean, it's Hollis. Well, exactly, Ivy breathed, and Aloysia saw the tension flood out of her friend, whose shoulders dropped. She crossed the room stiffly, and Aloysia felt a pang of guilt. Her best friend was still recovering from childbirth. When did my inconsiderate, narcissistic brother become whatever it is you're doing? Ivy asked, lowering herself cautiously onto the armchair. We're not yet, Aloysia said, shifting uncomfortably. I mean, we do. We'd like to, but I wanted to make sure you'd be all right with it. Ivy barked a laugh. You told my brother you couldn't sleep with him until you'd approved it with me? She said, grinning. That explains why he's essentially become Zinnia's third parent. I'm fairly certain he's changed more of those awful toweling nappies than I have. Aloysia's cheeks were warm as her friend looked back at her. Wick, she said, and Aloysia felt herself finally relax at the use of her nickname. That is extraordinarily sweet, but you don't need my permission. But Aren't you worried it'll make things difficult for all of us if it doesn't work out? Wouldn't that put you in an awkward position? My position is what it always was on the score, Ivy said pragmatically. If he hurts you, I'll break every bone in his body, and if you hurt him, I'll assume he did something to deserve it. Honestly, the more awkward position is the one I'm in right now. Apparently, between the two of you. Ivy shuddered at the thought. Just tell me I could still complain to you about him, and you won't always take a side. She leaned over and took Aloysia's hand in both of hers, and Aloysia nodded, smiling weakly back at her with mute gratitude. And maybe I could let him think he needs to stay in my good books, just until he's got Zinnia down for her nap. Half an hour later, Aloysia and Ivy made their way together to the Corn Exchange's library. The sound that met their ears as they opened the door was louder than the noise of all the Tangaroot evacuees and their animals had been, despite coming from only one person. Uncle Hollis's niece soothing services. You feed him, we burp him, Hollis announced, sailing across the room and scooping the wailing culprit out of her father's arms, before putting her over her shoulder and rubbing her back. Ivy collapsed into Carlisle's lap in the one remaining armchair by the fire, and he jerked awake, dropping a glass baby bottle and showering the floor with squares of muslin, books, and myriad soft and clockwork toys. Aloysia hung back in the doorway and watched as Hollis murmured a song that she couldn't hear, turning in circles with baby Zinnia against his chest. After a few moments, the baby let out a series of tiny burps before slumping asleep against his shoulder. Aloysia smiled and recalled how her own head had felt, nestled in that same crook in Castacombe when Littlewig had been ill. It was as she was chewing thoughtfully on her bottom lip at the memory that Hollis saw her, and his mouth fell open. The armchair hadn't been the only new thing Aloysia had found in her bedroom. Package on her dresser, suspiciously bearing the same label as the outfit she had bought in Gipfelbook, had contained what Aloysia was wearing now. A white wool dress with a petticoat finished with snowflakes to match her witch's hat. It was even cozier than the other white outfit and had felt as warm as Hollis's embrace from the moment Ivy had fastened the last button. He stared. And then Lan and Sheikah bumbled through the door surrounded by the cat dragons and swept Aloysia into the room. This must be what Ivy had mentioned. A quick breakfast before Lan's new routine of taking Lingui and Littlewig for a brisk flight, or sit in the case of Aloysia's cat dragon. Down to the lake with her each morning, an uncharacteristically altruistic development which had nothing at all to do with Sheikah taking Hidira there on her visits to Rohan. Lan looked exhausted but happy and was beaming at Sheikah, who was doubled over giggling at something Lan had just finished saying. Littlewig was leading the pack, darting this way and that in front of Hidira and Lingui before whipping his head over his shoulder to see which one of them was going to pounce first. When neither did, he paused and then lashed both of their noses at once with his two tails. The older cat dragons blinked in surprise, looked at each other, and shot across the room after the delighted youngster. Aloysia gazed after him, her heart full. Now that she had recovered enough to get out of bed, she planned to visit Mr. Kingyoso and Duca later that day to beg their forgiveness for not coming sooner and ask all they knew about Litwick's twin tails. As she watched her cat dragon wrestling with Hidira, Aloysia itched to find answers for him. Excusez-moi, Grayson heralded, entering the room behind Lan and Sheikah and waving through a succession of breakfast trolleys. Is that the time? Ivy cried, muzzily, sitting up straight. We have to open the library. We will, Aloysia soothed, as Ivy breathed in the smell of sizzling hot sausages and wilted. But you have to eat something first. As Aloysia made her friend up a plate, Grayson handed Ivy the Morning Post, and she sifted through the handful of envelopes and message canisters. One of them bore the emblem of the Gipfelburg royal family. And this she handed to Aloysia, who unrolled the scroll and read it aloud. Which Papelwick? Otari. Oh wait, it's from Eckart. Okay. Which Papelwick? Otari and I returned home to find Gipfelburg Guardian safe and well. Hypothesis. New Guardian turned back for Spire before delivering Guardian's gaiety. Final act of magical sacrifice delayed. Wavering Winder acted as proxy. Ergo, yourself and Miss Yadavara are in debt to the crown to the amount of one spell or act of goodwill to be paid to the Beaumont research team at time of my choosing. Also of note, multiple sightings of botanical bird with wingspan of estimated 50.1 feet reported across Gipfelburg. Biological evidence suggested contact with Gipfelburg Guardian. Feces analysis confirms Dragon Griffin in excellent health. Please provide equivalent report at earliest convenience. Sincerely, Eckart Beaumont. Dictated but not read, etc. Translation by the pen of Miss Librera Hatcher. Aww, Sheikah said just as Ivy handed Aloysia a green envelope. Please provide equivalent report at earliest convenience. He does miss us. Aloysia turned her back to the others so they wouldn't see her turning the envelope over and over in her hands. She knew what was inside. The same missive Ivy said the council had sent every day since she had reported Aloysia and her friends' success at the Spire. And since the magic had slowly begun to return to the well, hastening the rebuilding effort across Tangaroot Valley. It was an invitation to join their ranks, initially as cover for Ivy while she spent the time with her new baby, but with a view, Ivy had said encouragingly, to Aloysia working alongside her permanently once Ivy returned to full duty. Aloysia should have been thrilled at the honor. Certainly, she knew the Papelwick pumpkins would be ecstatically proud of her. But something she couldn't quite put her finger on prevented her from responding just yet. She tore open the letter, confirmed that it was indeed what she had suspected, and then tucked it into a pocket of her dress, straightening her matching hat and began to fill her own breakfast plate. Ivy ushered them all out of the library straight after breakfast. Aloysia and Hollis still holding piping hot, fragrant mugs of chai made to Sheikah's family recipe, Aloysia waved Litwick off with Lan and Sheikah before turning to find Hollis, half smile on his face, watching her through that fringe. Today's waistcoat had fallen open under his long winter coat, and she was forcibly reminded of seeing him like this back in Stromoten. Without discussing it, the two of them sauntered out to the corn exchange and into the snow-covered grounds, which sparkled in the crisp morning air. Gotta say it, Hollis said eventually, and Aloysia shot him a look over her mug that she felt her nerves jangle. If I hadn't distracted you by nearly getting torn apart by wolves, and you'd had the chance to recognize the wavering winder before we went into Castercombe, would we have got everything we needed for the spell right there? And never had to go up that mountain? Aloysia blinked in surprise, batted away a twinge of disappointment, and took a thoughtful slurp of her drink. No, she said after a long moment. She waved at Arnold as they passed, and was greeted with a wan look. A fungus isn't a plant, for one. To False Doll's eyes, fungus were natural. It had probably taken that shape for a long time, but the wavering winder couldn't have turned into a stone cap. Besides, she added, thinking of a thistle draining through her fingers, even if we'd been able to convince the vine to turn into skater's snares, they wouldn't have been chewed by river weavers, and the patty berries would have turned to ash as soon as we harvested them, like everything else we cut down. Hollis nodded, and they slowed as they reached their destination, the Corn Exchange's recently installed greenhouse. Are you sure you want to do this? Hollis said. We could get one of those cowardly magical botanists from the hearing instead. Aloysia smiled. If they haven't got the guts to face lycanthropes and murder vines, she told him, they're definitely not ready for Great Granny Ethelba. You left your own family out here to rot, Ethelba squawked as Aloysia lifted her down from a shelf into a shallow silver tray set on the work table. Hold still, please, Aloysia said, failing to keep the amusement out of her voice. If I don't get this right, you could end up split across 2 soul seeds, she invented. And I hear that can be a very messy business. Great Granny Ethelba recoiled at this news, drawing herself up and narrowing her carved eyes suspiciously, while Aloysia knew the groundskeeper had taken care of them to the best of his ability. The prattling pumpkins had been left out of their soul seeds a good while longer than was customary, and they had all begun to wrinkle. As she appraised Aloysia, an enterprising green weevil turned out of one of Great Granny Ethelba's eyes. Lovely to catch up, Ethelba, Aloysia said brightly, lifting a watering can and pouring it over her pumpkin relative. She watched with satisfaction as the pumpkin shrank away, growing smaller and smaller until it vanished back into its soul seed with a pop and a clatter. Aloysia interlaced her fingers, stretched her arms out, and turned her attention to the remaining pumpkins. It was some time before the soul seed jar was brimful again, and Aloysia lifted down her last remaining ancestor, who gave her a look with a twinkle in it as she did. You botched it, bungled it, mucked it all up, Auntie Madge cried delightedly as Aloysia sat her on the freshly emptied tray. From the back of the greenhouse, Aloysia heard Hollis put down the pruning scissors and knew he was listening. It's just like I told you, Madge went on. If you're not getting it wrong, you're not getting it right. Didn't I say? You did, Auntie Madge, said Aloysia with a respectful nod, and Madge beamed. I am glad I'm more like you than any of the others, Aloysia told her aunt sincerely, and Madge dwindled back into her soul seed, gazing at her niece with only pride in a prattling patch that Aloysia still cared about. Ivy says you're a perfect uncle to Zinnia, Aloysia said to Hollis as they sauntered back to the snow. He smiled with pride at that. She gave him a sideways look, waiting for him to realize what she had said. She saw the moment when his face fell, and he looked quickly back at her. My sister said that? He said, and swallowed. Mm-hmm. Aloysia nodded, swishing her skirt absently. When you talk to her, he confirmed, trying to keep his voice level. Aloysia nodded, keeping her face carefully impassive. Hollis stared straight ahead, but she caught his fingers flexing at his sides. What else did you talk about? He said casually. Oh, you know, childbirth, night feeds. He was nodding as she spoke, looking at her expectantly. She fell silent, gave him a guileless smile, and then he tried to cover this disappointment with a small smile back. There's something I need to tell you, she said, as evenly as she could, given the butterflies in her stomach, and they both came to a stop. All right, give me a second. We have an ad running, and it's close to the end of the book. I'm gonna wait out the ads with you guys real quick, and then we're gonna finish this up. Oh my god, my eyes have been like really bad and itchy lately, so excuse me. Oh, we good though. Your eyes felt a bit dry a couple weeks ago. Oh man. Yeah, the eyes are just, I don't know what's going on with the eyes. But it's okay. One second. There you go. All right. We're almost done, guys. There's like 1.5 pages left. Okay. There's something I need to tell you, she said, as evenly as she could give the butterflies in her stomach, and they both came to a stop. Oh, he said, his eyes wide with a hope she could see him trying to suppress. She gave him a serious look. His face fell again. Oh, She took a step closer, held his gaze. His eyes flicked over her face. When he spoke, it was with new hope and bewilderment. Oh? She could barely keep the smile from her face. She leaned up to his ear and whispered, "Isn't that my line?" "All right," he breathed as he stepped back. "Now I really hope you talk to her about us, because I'm fairly certain the council has rules about torture." She slipped her hands under his coat and around his waist and looked up at him. A smile pulled at his lips as he gazed openly at her. A mix of joy and awe on his face. That look made her feel like a precious jewel. When Hollis kissed Aloysia, there was nothing else in the world. The kiss, soft at first, reverent. They kissed like neither of them could believe they were allowed to touch the other. Fingertips brushing cheeks and necks and collarbones. A breeze whipped around them, and Alicia couldn't explain it. There was something ethereal about it. Something magical. It lifted her hat and her plaits, played on the hem of her dress, and she moved her wand hand up into Hollis's hair and felt his hair lift too. The air seemed to thrum and crackle. "It's you," she thought, and it felt like it was meant. It felt like it was meant to feel. Like she'd always wanted it to feel. Like coming home, but to a home where thousands of tiny fireworks were being set off. She was gripped by the need to hold on to the moment, to him. She rose up into her tiptoes and threw her arms around his neck. He responded by pulling her into him by the small of her back, and she broke their kiss with a gasp. Their eyes met and pawed as they studied each other. Is this real? It feels real. They shared a small smile, bewilderment. And when he kissed her again, it was as urgent as she felt. As they hurried back into the corn exchange, they were so caught up in each other's knowing glances that Aloysia didn't see Lan behind the door and tripped over Lingui's leash, colliding with her friend before hurriedly apologizing to the two of them. After Lan was finished with her string of curses, she dusted herself off and resumed the song she'd been singing under her breath as she moved off towards the door. "Is that Ludwig's lullaby?" Aloysia asked, turning on the spot as she identified the tune. "That's right," Lan nodded, pushing the door open so a fresh breeze whipped at Hollis's hair and Aloysia's hat. He squeezed her hand in his and it gave her goosebumps. "Those aren't the right words," Aloysia said, smiling at Lan in bemusement. "Yes, they are," Lan said, looking back at Aloysia placidly. "Don't you know the last verse?" And that's where the book ends. What? Yeah. That's where it ends. These are the final words. Don't you know the last verse? And if we go to the next page, it goes into the acknowledgements. Like, it's the end. All right. we're done. I really enjoyed this book. I am happy. Maybe that's why we're getting a sequel book, huh? Don't you humph at me, Lily. No, but I really enjoyed that book. It was really, really good.
Humph.
God damn it, Lily. I mean, I guess we still don't fully know, like, technically the whole bonding between Littlewig and Aloysia didn't fully happen. So there's still that mystery open. Maybe that will be explored in the next book. Because he seems to still be with her, but like the whole bonding process wasn't concluded. They didn't have like the whole sparking thing or whatever it was called. So that's going to be interesting to see if they're going to, you know, expand on that a bit more. Well, Crow being the Guardian was very much interesting. I did not expect that. For me, throughout like most of the book, Crow was kind of just like, you know, just a funny comic relief kind of character that would like sometimes pop in to be fun and like have some funny moments. But bruh, okay, he's the Guardian, I guess. I mean, obviously Hollis and Aloysia would be together in the end. I mean, I feel like that was pretty obvious. So I'm curious how their relationship evolves in the second book as well. I'm just really curious now about the second book. But we have to wait until January next year for it to come out. But I am very excited to read the next one as well. Cat Dragon and the Snow Fairies. Sounds like it's going to be a good one. Oh man, that was good. I'm happy. I just randomly picked this out of a bookstore. I mean, you remember when we got this, Lily? It was kind of just like, you know, a random choice because of the name. And yeah, here we are. Finished the book. Very happy. Right. As I've said before, we have the next one ready as well. This will be the one we're going to be reading afterwards. Gallant. I'm excited for this one as well because it is another Schwab book. And also, I mean, first of all, this whole like paper cover thing is really cool. Like you can take that off and it's a white book with like a little house on the front, which is pretty cool. And then you have like some extra infos on the author and stuff like this over here inside. But also, god fucking damn, the first page That shit looks sick. It's also on the back. I am excited. I am very much excited. I just put the cover back on. Let me read you guys the synopsis here again before next week we're gonna head into it. 16-year-old Olivia Pryor is missing 3 things: a mother, a father, and a voice. Her mother vanished all at once, her father by degrees, and her voice was the thing she never had to start with. Her only companions are the ghouls she sees in her mother's journal, which captured a mind in turmoil. Near the end of her time at Maryland's School for Girls, Olivia receives a letter from an uncle she has never met, summoning her to his estate, Gallant. But when she arrives, she discovers that the letter was years late. Her uncle is dead and the estate is empty, save for her cousin Matthew and the servants. Olivia is permitted to remain, but must follow 2 rules. Don't go out after dusk, and always stay on the right side of the crumbling wall. But Gallant is a house of secrets, a house sitting in lonely vigil, a place where the ghouls are powerful. And as Olivia searches for answers about her family, her past, she discovers a dark reflection of everything she knew, an ancient realm where ghosts take form and the Dark Master sits waiting for her. I am excited. Very, very excited. Big fan of her work so far. I mean, this is the 6th book of her that we're gonna be reading. You might be able to tell that I like that author. I like her. Maybe just a little bit, you know. All right. Now, God, for a second there, I thought, oh my God, I closed the chat. Literally, the chat was just on the other monitor on full screen. I am silly. I thought I closed my chat by accident. All right. Finally. Done there. All right. And then we switch over. Y'all.